Welcome back to Vegas Live with Ninon. I'm Ninon, your host, and of course we're on this new network called WIN Network. It's absolutely amazing, so we're very excited because you're going to actually get this show on WIN Network. How cool is that? I have with me Stephanie Mann. Stephanie Mann has been a friend of mine for many, many years. We were just trying to talk about it, but then we didn't really want to mention too many years because it kind of ages us. But you know, we are what we are, and we can't.
Speak for yourself.
There you go. And you can't stop it, can you? It keeps going and it keeps going.
It gets better and better.
Now, lucky old me, as things do happen, she decided to move to Vegas. Well, I live in Vegas, and now you're in Vegas, so we get to have dinner once a month or something, you know, whatever.
It's wonderful.
It is. It's really lovely. But in the meantime, we were both involved with the younger generation. I had the show called Voices of Tomorrow. Stephanie Mann was in San Francisco, in Oakland, and around that area,
right,
also dealing with the younger generation and also the homeless. And you have a track record of helping so many people. And this is a book you just recently wrote.
Yes.
What's the name of this book?
It's called Empowerment Parenting.
Empowerment Parenting. Ooh, we really need that now, don't we?
How to raise resilient children who become happy, self-reliant adults. It's how to empower kids from the inside.
Yes.
So that they know how to handle their life. Because, you know, our future are our kids.
And I like the way you say from the inside, because of a lot of the younger generation look at themselves in the mirror and sometimes don't like themselves, whether they're pretty or whether skinny or whether weight or whatever the case is, they never seem to like themselves. But when you like yourself from the inside, the outside disappears because you're secure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I might tell you how I happened to write this book because working in Oakland, California, and I was working with the Oakland Police Department. I'm a crime and violence prevention consultant. Okay. And one day I got to know a lot of the people in the, you know, they were homeless that were sitting by the police department. And one day they said, they just got up and started walking away. I said, where are you guys going? And they said they're going to go over to the park and meet Mother Wright. So as a result of working with Mother Wright for 4.5 years, I learned what the homeless never learned as children.
Really?
Yes.
So it goes all the way back to the first 5 years again?
Oh, yes. And
the story we never believe.
Well, you know, and that's the thing. When you have children, if you give them the right tools at an early age, they can succeed. I mean, how to be centered, spiritually centered, so they don't become bullies and they don't become victims.
Correct.
So when
it seems to be either one in school, isn't it?
Oh, well, and you know, so many of our kids are bullied today, and they don't know how to handle it.
No.
So I learned from the homeless, and we started support groups, and believe it or not, men and women got jobs as a result of talking about, and we started these support groups where they talk to each other. And at first we had a lot of trouble with it.
So they were giving each other the confidence that you might not have yourself, but you have it from somebody else.
Yes. But so many times, most people think, I'm all alone. I'm the only one that's feeling this.
Thousands are feeling the same thing.
Yeah, and they don't really know. And most of these homeless people, because believe me, it was not easy to do it.
Well, look at San Francisco right now. I mean, it's really, and Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
The two.
But we should be starting support groups for our homeless people, because once they started talking to each other, they learned they weren't alone, and they started listening and learning from each other.
From each other, the mistakes, and each one of them have probably come down to the same thing. So they realize they've all had that same problem.
Most of them were abused as children, and today we are spending $220 million a day on child abuse and neglect. That's what the taxpayers are spending.
Is the child abuse mostly from men, or is it mostly from women?
Both.
Both of them?
Yes.
Now, when you say child abuse, are you saying sexually? Are you saying verbally? Are you saying like hitting? And this is a tough question, but I'm going to ask it.
Well, absolutely, because the stories we were hearing were horror stories. Now, remember, these are homeless people. Sexual, locking kids in closets, beatings, social isolation. Oh, well, it was
I don't
shocking.
think people really understand that this really, really does happen.
Oh,
in
all
a
too
town,
often.
in a town that you live in, or your next door neighbour might be doing this to the child comes out, and the child has to be nice when it's with other children, right?
Yes, and also, children hide things very well.
Yeah.
They actually,
They do.
even if they're abused, they want to protect their family. They
Yes.
want to protect, because that's
Well,
all they've got.
they're probably
That's all they've got.
threatened though. When they're abused, they're probably threatened. Whoever's
sure
doing
are.
the abuse, which could be both, could be anybody. So they don't want to sort of disrupt anything, because then get something worse happen to them.
See, they don't. What they know is better than what they don't know.
Yeah.
So one of the things I did with
With your
empowerment
book,
parenting was to put their stories in the book.
So you got a lot of stories of the.
Lots of stories, lots of exercises, lots of graphics, so that so it's easier to teach children.
Understand not to do this to your child.
Yeah. For example, the spiritually centered child, I have a graphic in there that shows the bully on one side and the victim on the other.
Okay.
And then it's an easier way to explain. And we used to have kids draw those pictures. I did after-school programs
Really?
with empowerment
So you got the
parenting.
children to actually show and describe more what was going on, then you understood more.
Oh, I learned so much from the children.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, we did one workshop for the kids, and as a little girl came into the class the next day. These are after-school programs. And she said, "You won't believe what happened to me." Now, she's 11 years old. She was walking home, and we were teaching about how to use your instincts and how to use your intuition. And we told her, leave that phone in your pocket. Do not do that on the street, but pay attention. She was walking down the street. A man pulled up in front of her, and she got a little suspicious when he opened the door, walked around the side of the car, and opened the passenger side door. And just then he grabbed her by the backpack and tried to push her in the car. But she was already thought about, what am I going to do if this guy tries to do something? She slipped out of her backpack and ran away. So you don't hear success stories.
Well, this is the problem with life, because you don't hear the beautiful things that happen. You hear, like the news, is always bad, 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 bad.
Yeah.
Everything's bad. And when I hear stories like that, that's a good story. It was a bad story that turned into a good story, because she was
And we had a lot of them.
only 11 years old, and she knew what to do.
Yes, another young girl, she stayed after class, and she wasn't going to leave. And I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "No." And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, well, she had to take the bus. It was starting to get dark. She had to walk down the street 4 blocks to get to her house. And she said that a man had stopped her the day before and asked her for her phone number. Now, she's 12. And she told him the wrong number and ran. And she said, "What should I have done?" And I said, "You can't be walking home. Your father or somebody
has to come, because he'll be there. He'll be there again that night.
That's right.
That's why she didn't want to go.
Exactly.
Wow, these stories. Listen to these stories. Really listen to them, because these are a dime a dozen stories. They happen all the time. The abduction of children.
It does.
So what are you thinking right now? The great book, fabulous. Don't forget it. And where Amazon anywhere?
Amazon.
Amazon. But what is going on now? We're in this epidemic of this virus and this whole thing going on. But the children are not allowed to go to school. What is your opinion on that?
I think it's poor. I think there are a lot of problems with it, because we have a huge problem with child abuse and neglect. And child abuse gets worse.
If you're in the house all the time.
Yes.
Now the whole family is now in the house.
Can you imagine being in an apartment with 3 little kids? I mean, it's frustrating for mama if she's alone, or papa, whoever.
Yeah,
and they take it out on children. This is not uncommon.
They don't talk. I think parents need to talk to their children nicer than they do, because I listen to that a lot. And I think they need to sort of listen to what they're saying, rather than yelling at the child all the time. "I told you not to do this. I told you," and they're always bang, 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 knocking the child down.
Well, we give you guidelines in empowerment parenting to help you get through that, or to find your own center. Because if you're not centered as a parent, believe me, you can be out of control.
Seems to be quite a subject today. It's about the third time I've talked about being centered. I keep this as I don't know, this is the day of collecting yourself, and I think one thing, I've always said, go into your bedroom because it's supposed to be the most tranquil place. Sit on the bed and just relax. Don't think of anything, but just relax and collect and see who you are. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Why am I happy? Why am I not happy? Why isn't everything? Let me just sit here and let me sort myself out. I mean, just as a gentleman just said to me, if there's everything's going wrong, look in the mirror because you're the one getting it all wrong.
Absolutely.
So look in that mirror and you might find out.
And I advocate for not just prayer or meditation to calm yourself down.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is calming yourself down. And you don't have to be, into God and all that if you don't want to, but just about you. Just look at you, because this is this not all I have? I mean, I can have all the cars in the world, I can have everything. But
Absolutely.
if I'm not in order,
yes,
what am I? Who am I?
Yeah, and make sure that you are doing, helping your kids move forward.
Yes.
Not putting them down.
Bring them up.
Yes. We've
And
got
listen
to
them.
support
When
them.
they want to talk, listen to them. Don't interrupt them.
That reminds me, as I interrupt you.
I know, I love that. I love that.
Consider a listening chair in your kitchen.
Oh,
Now,
I love this.
Yes.
I love this.
A listening chair is if there's a conflict in the family, like the kids are having a little problem, or they're feeling angry or upset or something's bothering them, they sit in the chair, and the rule in the family is everybody has to stop what they're doing and listen.
Yes. Well, one of my greatest sayings was just listen. That was one of my greatest sayings. Just listen.
Absolutely.
You're going to learn more, but then you're going to learn from our child. Most parents, when a child comes, oh, Mummy and Daddy, I did this and I did this, and I want to tell you the story about this. And they said, well, let me tell you my story. And the child sits there and doesn't know what to do. It goes in, because children's attention span is not the greatest. It goes in one ear, straight out the other. So you've got to make sure it gets locked somewhere.
Absolutely.
So listen to them.
Absolutely. And not only that, don't solve their problem for them. Because helicopter parents are abusive too, because children learn from experience.
Yes.
They don't learn from you interacting and
telling them all the time.
Telling them what to do, how to handle everything. They need to learn that for themselves.
And then you can always help them if it goes wrong a little
and
bit.
Ask questions like, what do you think you should have done? How could you have done this differently?
Yeah. Or how would you have liked to have done it different? Or what do you want me to help you with? Or engage in a conversation with your child, not make it just one-sided, as I say, just listen. Listen to that child first.
Right.
And they're children until... I think they're always children, actually.
Well,
I mean,
children are so incredibly smart.
Yeah.
We don't really know that they already have gifts.
Yes.
They already have gifts.
Yes. They're born with the gifts.
They are.
Just
And
get them.
the parent's job is to help nurture that so that their gifts come out.
That's true, because every person out there, behind every face there's a story, but everybody, whoever it is born, is given a gift.
Absolutely.
And it's whatever gift. It might be the same as somebody. It may not be the same as your mom or your dad or your grandparents. It might be something completely different, but it doesn't matter.
No.
You just use it, find it.
This was what was happening in the homeless community when I worked with the homeless. They felt discouraged. They felt useless. They felt
they don't feel worthy. Yeah, they don't feel worthy.
No self-esteem.
No.
I mean, and you think of all those people in the communities that have no self-esteem and they're taking drugs to escape.
Well, it gives them a great life out there. If you had something to do now, which you are doing something in Vegas, but what do we do with this abundance of homeless people? What would you think would be a real cool or good thing to do to try and get these looking at me like,
what we did in Oakland and Richmond, we started support groups. Not everybody's interested. Some people, as you've said before.
Now that's support groups within the homeless, so you get...
Well, let me tell you how that happened. I was working with Mother Right, as I mentioned. And one day a young man came up to me, and because I'd worked there for quite a while, and he came up to me and he said, "Would you help me?" And I looked at him, and my first thought was he wanted money.
Yeah.
That's not what he wanted. So we sat and talked. What he wanted, he had been, and I learned this over time, an ex-con from San Quentin. He had been a drug addict. He had been in for assisting in a murder. I mean, he had a bad
Wow, he
rap
had a
sheet.
record on him.
And he said, I really want to change, and I don't know what to do.
See, that's the word.
I looked at him and I said, I don't know how to change. I can't change you, but let's just talk. Well, when we sat down to talk, he told me things that I told my children when they were 7, 8, 9 years old that he'd never heard of.
Wow.
About finding his center, learning how to...
He never knew as a child what anything was.
He didn't know how to handle his anger.
No.
He didn't know how to handle frustration. And I was just overwhelmed with listening to him. And then he said, you know, I'm trying to help some of these guys in the park, and they want to meet with us. And that's how
That's how you started the whole
support
thing.
group.
So I guess the message there is communication.
Absolutely.
Is communicating with somebody else, and it doesn't matter, just because you may be very wealthy does not mean to say that you can't help the homeless by signing a check. Sometimes you have to give a little bit of your time. When everybody says, well, I don't have time. We all have time to give to somebody else, to give that little personal touch, that personal feeling that they don't understand. And so how can people reach you if they want to reach you, and also how they can reach you, get your book on Amazon? How can they reach you?
Well, we have a national network called safekidsnow.com, and there is information in there on how to reach us. Go to contact. Go to the home page. You'll see the book. You can get the book on that website too. So it's safekids.com, and anyone can make a change in somebody else's life. If you have this book, and I've had people read it and just talk to other people.
Yeah. Well, I think that's time to realize that there is something you can do. You can give something.
That's right.
And if you're successful, I did a show for 16 years. I came from something which one day it'll probably come out, but it wasn't very good. I never went to school, so I kind of don't know what she's talking about. I was not taught or given and didn't know anything about anything, but that doesn't matter.
But you had gifts.
Undiscovered gifts. I did. And I still have gifts. I've still got gifts coming out. It's cool. It's cool. I love it.
We all do.
We all have that. So don't be disappointed. Don't think you can't be helped, because you can. If you're homeless, it doesn't make any difference what you are. You can be helped, but help yourself too. So don't forget to, we're going to be on the WIN network starting 2021. We're getting up to that date, a new year, and I think everybody in the entire world cannot wait for 2021. It's like, you know, they're like pulling it, dragging it in.
Yes.
We've got one more day, I think, to get there. I think, I'm not sure, one more day. But and don't forget to tune in to YouTube and subscribe and watch Vegas Live with Ninon. I am going to have another guest come on, and he's an amazing guy. His name is Reggie, and absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for Stephanie Mann, my friend for many, many years, but we had a lot in common with what we were doing. We'll be right back with our next guest. If you enjoyed the last show we just did and all the other shows, don't forget to subscribe, Vegas Live with Ninon on YouTube. We've got plenty more coming up, and our guests are amazing. So don't forget to subscribe. We'll be right back. Vegas Live with Ninon.